Blog Talk Radio.
Why would you ever want to drop out of school when everyone around you has made it very clear that your future is worth hanging in the balance? I mean, don't you know that an education is required in order for you to do anything of value or significance with your life? And although many wealthy and successful individuals did drop out of school exactly like you're thinking of doing right now, it's still a pretty bad decision for some reason. Where would we learn to read or write if it wasn't for schools, right? I mean, most kids do teach themselves how to walk or talk, which are much more important and fundamental skills than learning to read or write. We still understand that that's not really that important. We all know that schools are the only way to get an education. Don't you know that? I mean, even though the facts show that before public schooling was instituted, the country was much more literate and read at a higher level than it presently does, but I digress. I'm getting off point. Why would you drop out of school when you know that dropouts earn less money than graduates? Even though it has been shown over and over that school education has no direct correlation to income or financial success later in life, why are you acting like school isn't a fun place to be anyway? I mean, when I was a kid, I hated it, but I liked it later, years after I got out and didn't really have to go back. I mean, why would you not like school if you like money? We all know that school is the only way to make money, although many dropouts end up as billionaires like the richest guy on the planet at one point. But that's an anomaly. You know you don't have as much potential as he does. And without school, you wouldn't have the self-discipline or determination to pave your own way to success. So why would you ever drop out of school when it's a scary thing to do?
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is the Dropout Rebellion with Prince, your host, your gracious host. And this is the live broadcast for today, August the 25th, 2013. And what we're talking about today is the clip you just listened to, which was me pretty much doing, I guess, what you may call spoken word or a little satire in response to the arguments presented when people are confronted with the decision of dropping out of school. Now, it's time for the wise and educated to speak out in response to the stigma and the constant criticism we receive as dropouts. I mean, let me take this music down right quick. I gotta get used to this music thing. It's weird. But back to the subject. It's time for the wise and educated to speak out in response to the stigma and constant criticism we receive as dropouts. I mean, I hope you enjoyed the previous clip, and please call into the show at 646-716-9094 to share your thoughts on what you just heard. But you shouldn't drop out of school because it's a scary thing to do for most people. That's what you hear. Now, do you think that's true, or does it pay off to actually face your fears and follow your instincts about educating yourself? No one who drops out just thinks, oh, I'm going to drop out of school, stay home, and do nothing with my life from now on and be poor. You see, most of the people who drop out who end up in this situation are immobilized from certain unseen processes in our economy, what we call opportunity costs in economics, translate to a shortage of opportunities for society's outcasts. And if you're one of the people who just so happen to feel this way, and you've come to the right place, because the opportunities abound, and once you learn to shift your perspective and retrain yourself on how to see opportunities and how to see transactions, you will understand that there is no shortage of opportunity in today's economy or any economy whatsoever. And in many ways, the more everyone complains about the economy and says that the economy is bad, the economy has problems, when you hear that a lot, what that means is that there are actually a lot of opportunities out there for creative people to actually come in and make a profit off of the things that this economy is not getting right at the moment. You see, there are thousands of problems in this world faced by all sorts of people, you know? There are so many problems to be solved that we probably can't even identify them all if we try. And it's futile to even try to do this because as you're trying to identify more problems pop up. Each step of the way, you run into new problems. And what I mean is that things that used to be okay and acceptable yesterday become not okay as you learn more and more information, and you start to see more things are actually out there. So now what you could have dealt with, for months or years previously, now it's unacceptable because you just learned something new. This is how new problems are being created. And this means that as you encounter new information, and as the species in general does the same thing, we are constantly creating new problems for ourselves in the process. And you got to realize we live in the information age. What that means is that we are being exposed to more and more information than anybody else at any other time in history. So obviously that would translate to more and more problems than any other time in history. There are more problems to solve right now than there were at any other time in history. And there's no signs of this process slowing down. Now, a perfect example of this is cars. Before you had cars, you didn't need car mechanics. Now that you have cars, a problem pops up. And now that you invent a car, people who didn't have cars, now they want a car. So what didn't used to be a problem for them back then, or what didn't used to be a big issue for them back then, now becomes a problem because they've been made aware that there's new possibilities out there. And almost the same thing also with computers. You wouldn't have computer programmers, computer technicians. You have to turn around and look. There's billion-dollar industries created around products and items that were created themselves just as solutions to problems. But think about it. People didn't feel like they were missing out on the computer before the computer was invented. It's when the computer was invented that a lot of people realized, oh, yeah, I need one of these. If not for anything else, to at least compete with the other people who have it. So I'm not left behind or left in the dark while everybody else is using computers and using highly advanced technology to progress. So please call into the show, The Dropout Rebellion, with your host, Prince. It's 646-716-9094. And but you may be wondering at this point, what am I talking about and why do I bring up problems? Well, the problems that people face represent opportunities. And if you learn how to look the right way, every time you see a lot of people facing a lot of problems, you should take that as a call or an opportunity for you to profit or to, create an organization around that problem that's actually profitable. And the funny thing is, all these problems don't even have to be serious. Like, when I mentioned that there's thousands and thousands of problems popping up all over the time, it doesn't have to be anything big or serious. If you look around, millions and millions of dollars were made from sticking glue on paper because of the guy who invented Post-it notes. It didn't have to be a big idea. There's a general belief out there that to be a successful business person, you have to come up with something big. You have to come up with a big idea, with something never before done, something completely new. And Hollywood and the producers in Hollywood are constantly pounding it into your head that you got to drop a huge idea or some huge life-changing invention in order to make some money. This is not the case. People are making tons of money off of very simple ideas, very simple things that almost anybody could have thought of or probably did think of it and just didn't put it into action. And the thing is, you don't have to be the only one. If somebody comes out with an idea for a service or product, you could also provide that same service or product with your twist to it, because people may be more inclined to go to you for various reasons. It could be cultural reasons. It could be because they like the way you talk. It could be because they like just your whole perspective as opposed to someone else. That's why company philosophy is so important these days, because you got hundreds of companies that do the same thing everywhere. The thing is, though, a lot of people are more comfortable spending money or spending their time with a company that represents and supports the ideas that they themselves believe in. And actually, in many ways, the smaller the variance, the smaller the difference or the improvement that you make on the product, the better an idea it is, because it's typically easier to implement that idea and bring it to reality. So imagine if I'm coming up with a whole new way of doing something or a whole new process, that's more than likely going to be more involved than if I just came up with a little tweak you could do to something that's already out there. You see what I mean? It's easier to market that idea. It's easier to finance that idea. And it's easier to make it happen. It's going to happen quicker than trying to start something new from the ground up. You see? Time and energy are simply synonyms for money because they're almost directly interchangeable. If I have time, then I can use that time to make money. If I have money, then I could buy other people's time and energy with that money. And the more energy I have to expand, the more money I can make. Common sense makes sense, right? So coming up to this ever-increasingly, coming up to solutions and answers to this huge list of problems is a simple recipe that anyone can use at any time to make money, whether they're a high school dropout, college dropout or not, whether you're a graduate or not. And it's this formula that's creating millionaires and billionaires on a daily basis. It's not the fact that they went to school and graduated and took all the courses. And that's why if you turn around and look, the majority of people who have successful businesses or who are living a successful lifestyle are not necessarily there because of their degree, even if they have one. They're there because of something else. And see, this also skews the statistics. Because the thing is, the people in society, and here's one thing with me, I don't believe there's anything as a lazy person in society. So if I see somebody who's a dropout, who's homeless on the street, I don't believe that that person is lazy. People are not lazy. People do stuff. It's their natural instinct. I don't know if I've already broadcast or talked about this in another show. I'm not sure. I've been doing a lot of writing, a lot of posting.